What's up, everybody? I'm Stan, and welcome to Detail Comics, where we go over comics in detail. This is iRate Reviews, the show where I go over a comic book, its story, its art, give you my impressions, and let you know whether it's something to go back to the comic book shop for or not. So make sure you subscribe to get more of these every single week. The book that I want to talk about is Daredevil 595, which is the first Marvel Legacy story to come out of Daredevil, written by Charles Soule. So this is going to be a big one about Mayor Fisk. Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin, has been elected the official mayor of New York City, but let's just dive right into the story. Where we open up is we actually see a little bit of history of Wilson Fisk, and we kind of get a little bit more insight as to where he was as a youth. You know, while he wasn't necessarily raised in the best area, he did see a lot of crime, but he decided to make a difference, and the best way he knew to make a difference was to gain power, and power wasn't necessarily something that came easy to a child like him, so he did what he had to in order to gain it. You know, even losing his sight in the process at some point in time and then gaining it back. But one time, New York City chose Wilson. So instead of just Wilson choosing New York all the time and showing his version of wanting the best for New York City knew that Wilson Fisk wanted the best and chose him. And this is what baffles Matt Murdock's Daredevil. And this is a big splash page, big 2-page spread where he's talking with Foggy and ultimately has no idea why New York City would have chosen a known crime boss like Kingpin. And what it comes down to is when he's talking to his, associates at the DA, or at least the district attorney's office, and he is just, like, hey, we can get him on election fraud or something along those lines. There's all these different options, and it's just like, hey, nothing's really been proven to Wilson Fisk. They brought up all these things in the election. You don't really have a case to stand on because there's no proof that he was actually a bad person, and ultimately he made a big promise. He made a promise that he's going to keep the superheroes in check. There's a lot of people that are running on that platform. Or there's a lot of people that got behind that platform. And this happens when he goes back to his office, and his paralegal, his assistant, she relays a story to him. It's just like, did you know that I had a car? And Matt Murdock is just like, no, I didn't know that you had a car. It's just like, yeah, no, it was a great car. It wasn't really that much, but it was paid off. And then it would allow me and my girlfriend to go up into the mountains, and we could enjoy those things. I had a car. And then Spider-Man threw it at the Rhino. So that's how the superhero physically impacted her life and took something away that she enjoyed. And because it was a personal kind of interaction, because it wasn't necessarily police action and he was a vigilante, there's no insurance that covers that. And the premiums, if you wanted to buy superhero insurance, are insane. So what it comes down to is that Daredevil is looking at what he does to make the world better for New Yorkers. But he doesn't necessarily take into account all the time the collateral damage caused by other people or himself. And he's out there and he's trying to clear his head as Daredevil, which he does all the time. He's just like, I just defended a thing in the Supreme Court that legitimized the actions of superheroes and vigilantes. It's like, anybody would be happy to have me in their legal firm, but I gotta go take care of this. And he hears the ring for help. As he makes his way over via Daredevil, he comes down, takes out the attacker, and then all of a sudden he finds that he's part of a sting operation where the police are trying to take him in. So instead of fighting the police, he gives up. And where do they bring him? They bring him to Wilson Fisk, sitting in his penthouse, in a skyscraper inside New York City. And as Daredevil's approaching, Wilson, of course, knows he can hear this, but Daredevil, he hears a familiar voice beyond Kingpin. He hears Hammerhead, another member of the New York City crime underworld, and very common villain for both Spider-Man, Miles Morales' Spider-Man, Daredevil. Anybody that's a street-level villain inside New York has had a tussle with Hammerhead. And he's just relaying to Fisk, it's just like, hey, this is a great play that you got, we're happy to be taking care of things. And Wilson pretty much lays down the law. It's just like, I have brought you here to tell you that I won, and that you need to leave by the side door because I have a reputation to maintain. Kind of implying that's just like, this is not something that I'm going to let you screw up for me. And I don't do that. I'm here for New York, not for you, not for crime. Or at least that's the implication. So when the detectives finally bring him in, Wilson Fisk ushers him away. He has a confrontation with Daredevil, not necessarily physically, but verbally, where he kind of relays everything. It's just like, you've got to remember that you were not chosen. You were not chosen to protect New York. You took up the cause of protecting New York because you love New York. We're not two different people. We both love the city that we live in. But here's the thing. They chose me. Me. And that's just kind of, it just sets like Matt Murdock's Daredevil kind of like he's just ablaze on the inside. You can just feel it kind of like radiating off the page. And then ultimately, what's he going to do? Is he going to attack the freshly anointed mayor of New York City? No. So he throws his billy club at the window, smashes it, and escapes, leading to what's going to become a manhunt for Daredevil, as well as the other vigilantes inside New York, because the order isn't just for Daredevil to come down. It's for Spider-Man, it's for Luke Cage, it's for Jessica Jones, it's for anybody in the street that finds themselves above the law. And this is where I really love this story. It ends right there, but what we see is that this is going to set, or at least it should set, implications or real serious consequences for other superheroes inside New York City, or that make New York City their home. If you're talking about a universe-shaking event, the vast majority of superhero operations come out of the New York metropolitan area. So you've got a high density of these various characters, and if Wilson Fisk has declared open season for the arrest and detainment of these various vigilantes, it's huge. This is a decision and decree that should be felt in the pages of Peter Parker's Spectacular Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man. It should be in Luke Cage. It should be in Jessica Jones. It should be in Iron Fist. Hell, don't the X-Men live inside Central Park right now? Isn't that a huge implication? What do we do? Are we going to have a situation where certain vigilantes are legitimized in the face of New York City, or how are they going to have to do these things? Are they going to become members of the police or a peacekeeping force? It's really an interesting concept that I really hope kind of takes traction and takes hold in other books to kind of create a little bit more intertwined universe, to get rid of some of this disassociation that we're getting out of some of these books right now, because a lot of people, they're not necessarily maintaining a contiguous universe, a continuous train of thought that's kind of driving things forward. And I think that this is one of those things that you have to have echo throughout the Marvel Universe. The election of Mayor Fisk, Wilson Fisk, to one of the most powerful positions inside the continental United States is a earth-shattering event, or it should be a game changer for people operating out of that particular area, and it needs to be felt in the books worldwide. So since this is kind of like the shot across the bow to the other Marvel writers and editors, it's definitely something that I'm waiting to see more traction pick up in other books. So I'm really excited to see where that goes, and overall, Charles Soule has me in for his Daredevil run. The art, I found that it was a little bit vague. That's the only thing that I can really say about it. It implied various things, but overall I felt that it was just a touch vague, but that's because I'm used to a different art style, and I haven't been reading Daredevil on the regular basis, so I'm not sure if this is a consistent flavor that's come before, or, that will continue on. It's just that, sometimes people just felt like featureless. And you could get the sense of who a character was, but they just didn't necessarily have enough definition to kind of make it feel a little bit more upper end. But overall, I'm really excited about Daredevil 595. For Marvel Legacy, it's probably one of my only must-read books at this point in time. It's just absolutely awesome. It sets a really cool precedent, and I can't wait to see where the story develops. So definitely a recommendation from me. Got to go back and buy that book. But I want to know what you guys thought about Daredevil 595. Did you read it? What do you think? And do you think that Marvel's going to carry over this idea of Mayor Fisk into the larger Marvel universe? So hit me up in the comments down below, and we can start that conversation. As always, if you like what you see, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to get more news, reviews, and commentary on comic books, comic book movies, comic book TV shows and games, and anything and everything inside the world of comics.